Kenya's prowess in athletics already internationally acclaimed, the country is slowly but surely cementing itself as Africa's premier host for global athletics events. From the annual World Continental Tour to the World Athletics Under-20 Championships, Kenya has been a beehive of sporting activity. Idah Waringa caught up with the World Athletics President Sebastian at the recently concluded junior event and got his thoughts on a variety of topics.
So thank you so much for your time, Sebastian. Thank you. And just looking at the performances between the individual and the team performances at the World Under-20, tell us, do you think that athletics, the future of athletics, is in safe hands?
Look, I've never been more optimistic about the future of athletics. We've seen performances that have really been not just season's best, but actually championship records. And we've seen them not just in track or in field. We've seen them in everything from race walk through to our track and field events. So that's been a very, very good optimistic message for our sport at the moment.
Tell us, what are your thoughts on the organization of Kenya in the World Under-20 Championships? Give us some of the things that impressed you and maybe some of the misses as well.
Look, the delivery of a World Championships at the best of times is complicated. Add to that the tier of complexity that we've all had to deal with in the pandemic months. I think actually everybody's made a really good job of delivering a championships under really, really difficult sets of circumstances. The athletes have responded. I've spoken to so many of the delegations who have felt that everything from the warm-up facilities through to the way they've been looked after in the hotels has been terrific. So yes, under really difficult circumstances and some really challenging times, I think everybody's done a really good job.
Fantastic, and I think it's just the perfect setting that the Kenyan national anthem is playing right now.
We couldn't have predicted that, but we do hear a lot of that here.
Indeed, and let's look ahead to the World Continental Gold Tour coming to Nairobi for the second time. Give us your thoughts on it.
Look, it's really important. When I became president, one of my ambitions was to breathe extra life, turbocharge our one-day meetings. You know as well as anyone that Kenyan athletes from around the world really do thrive. They make their living on the one-day circuit. We wanted to do everything we could to expand that footprint, and I'm delighted that in a few weeks' time, if you love what you've seen here, then make sure you're at the Kip Keino Classic in September.
Absolutely love it. And let's focus on the African Athletics Championships. Of course, haven't quite gone to plan. We saw Nigeria offer to host it and then withdraw almost at the last minute there. Tell us your thoughts on the status of continental championships within, of course, Africa, and of course the development of athletics within the continent.
Well, look, first of all, I expect all our continental partners, our area associations, to deliver great championships. It's really important. It's what attracts the young athletes into our sport. It's what keeps the fans there. It's what brings new fans in. And clearly under difficult circumstances, I do understand the challenges, but I am disappointed that many of the nations in Africa haven't had the opportunity to share in those wonderful moments that other area associations have had, have welcomed.
And looking at your career and some of your passions, first as IAAF Vice President, now as World Athletics President, you've been a huge advocate, of introducing the cross-country to the Olympic Games. So tell us, from your vantage point now, especially as an IOC member, is there light at the end of that tunnel?
Look, I've always adored cross-country. I think speaking to any coaches and Kenyan coaches and Kenyan athletes really understand that it's possible to be great on the country and great on the track. Paul Tergat was a classically good example of that. And it's very much a part of the putting the bricks in place for a career. I'm optimistic that we have a good chance of getting cross-country into the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. We tried hard for Paris in 24, but for obvious reasons, particularly some of the added costs around COVID, that didn't prove possible. But I do think there's a little bit more than light at the end of the tunnel.
Fantastic. Let's look at everything happening in athletics. and especially from that very non-conventional, very, sort of novel approach to athletics. We're seeing bespoke marathons. We saw the Ineos, we saw the NN Mission Marathon. We're seeing virtual meets happening. What is your take on innovation in athletics and its place within athletics?
Look, our sport will live or die by its inability to innovate, its inability to do exciting, creative things that brings a fresh, new, younger generation into our sport. That is really important. Not everything we're going to do is going to be successful first time around. It may not be successful second time around, but it is still worth doing. And, for us to be engaging young people, which is tough in any sport, it's tough in any activity, we need to really understand the landscape they live in, and innovation is here to stay. It always has been.
It really is. And let's have a look at the 800 meters. Of course, you know much more about that than I and many of us. Do you think we'll see anyone running a sub 140 anytime soon?
Maybe not in these championships. I'd love that. That would be the story of the championships.
Yeah.
I think that would take us all slightly by surprise.
Right.
Look, of course, people will run, men will run under 140 for 800 meters. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I still think that's quite a big gap, but there's plenty of talent, and who knows, it may be a Kenyan athlete.
Hopefully, for us at least. And looking at yourself, of course, we see you keeping regularly fit. You're an avid runner, still very well documented. Tell us, what would Seb Coe now be hitting in the 800 meters and the 1500 meters, for example?
I don't think I'd be using a stopwatch. I'd be using one of those old-fashioned hourglasses where the sand pours through. So no, I run for fun, I run for pleasure. It keeps me mentally happy, physically in reasonable shape, and it's cheaper than buying a new suit every year.